Back, everyone. As I mentioned before our break, we'll now be talking to Alex Gonzalez. Welcome, Alex.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
Oh, thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Um, all right, so let's start. Like, what's the best place to start searching for major-based scholarships?
Yeah, when we're thinking about major-based scholarships, I like to start with the college themselves. Their applications, the admissions department will have their own scholarships, but each department might have scholarships. I can kind of remember back when I was working in the University of Portland's financial aid office, is that we would have scholarships that were housed in the College of Engineering, the College of Business, for particular majors and their departments. And so these were extra, whether freshmen could apply or undergraduates could apply each year. In addition, if you're thinking about majoring in music or kind of talent-based scholarships, they might be housed in those departments as well. Funny enough, we didn't have a large enough music department to give scholarships for everyone who was majoring in music. So a lot of our students were minoring in music, and some with, I guess, hard to find instruments, but were majoring in business or engineering or some other major career-wise, also got scholarships because they held the first chair. So definitely an awesome opportunity is to kind of check those colleges and their departments to see if there's any additional scholarships or future scholarships
Hmm.
to locate.
Yeah, I know at Whittier College where I worked, we had special performing arts scholarships as well. I mean, there weren't many. It was only one per field, I believe. Maybe it's more now, but I thought it was so great that we had them. I always kind of feel like you probably need fewer engineering scholarships. Those people are going to do just fine after they graduate, but your performing arts majors might need a little more assistance. So,
Yeah. Or you have somebody who's like a particular field. Everyone wants to be in computer science, and there might be donors or past alumni who are thinking about, um, you know, civil engineering or particular fields where they might not be, the most popular at the moment, but really looking to kind of recruit folks into that field.
absolutely. All right. So, where else should students look?
Yeah. So outside of the college, I like to think about it and as a strategy to think and explore locally. So you're the big fish in the small pond. Think about it that way, is that you're competing against a smaller group of students. And so you have more likelihood of receiving those scholarships. So think about what is in my neighborhood? What professional associations might be linked towards my current major? So think about Chamber of Commerce, interest groups in technology and the environment. It could be that you have a family member that's a member of a union, and that might create membership. Also, when I worked on a community scholarship, we had a group of insurance agents that had a scholarship, and they wanted to kind of highlight and kind of market their field and saying, hey, this might be an opportunity for you to take advantage of if you're thinking about business. And so there might be opportunities kind of in variety of fields or departments that might be um, in a particular area that you might not have explored yet.
hmm I mean, I think the main thing to do is ask the question, right? Like,
Yeah.
what's the harm in not only asking the question at the school, but also, yeah, looking up neighborhood organizations and seeing if they might have something available.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and your high school counselor, I remember in my high school counselor days, is that we had a big long list of scholarships that our community members and areas that our students could apply for. And so do know that you don't have to stay within your community as well to apply for those scholarships, or your state, is that those scholarships could potentially travel.
mhm.
Um, And we always encouraged our students to think about applying each year as well. So if they were off at their college, that the next year, if they didn't receive that scholarship, if they had the opportunity to apply as an undergrad, continue to do that. You're getting closer to the finish line, and and so there might be opportunity to expand those scholarship opportunities.
Hmm. All right. And so what about websites? I mean, I usually recommend students to scholarship.com, or I know Big Future has a scholarship search. What are some suggestions that you might make?
Yeah, yeah. So they're out there. They're great services. They vet scholarships. You get a big long list. Oftentimes on phone calls, I get families going, "Well, I filled out this student profile, and it lists all my interests, my demographic information." It's a great resource because it gets to pile a laundry list of scholarships. However, it can be overwhelming. That's the biggest like concern that families and students are. I'm inundated by scholarships. I don't know where to start. Kind of a pro tip in that is to kind of keyword search. So you've done all that great work of different and inventorying what you might be eligible for with that student profile. But now it's kind of, can we be targeted in thinking about maybe where am I in my community? Am I in the Bay Area? Am I in the greater New York area? Am I in a rural community, an urban community? Do I have a particular major? So what are those fields or interests? It might be based on a career as well. Don't think that it has to be based on your major, or if you're undecided what major you're going to be, but you have an idea of the career field. That might be a place where you start keyword searching some of those search engines like FastWeb, scholarships.com. The Big Future through College Board has a great resource as well. But targeting those and doing the work before you search can really help identify.
Hmm.
And setting reasonable goals. So oftentimes you kind of read those books that say apply for everything, or the easy answer from a high school counselor might be apply as many as you possibly can. But we know that you're taking AP classes, you're applying to multiple colleges, you have other things that are in your life,
Hmm.
and so it's hard to convince really anyone to say, oh, apply to 13, 20 scholarships, and get that no. But if you target and say, okay, I'm going to have a goal of 3 to 5 outside scholarships, outside of my college's scholarships, outside of the scholarships that are tied to the application, then now you have a reasonable goal. And as you know, essays are important. Those extra pieces to that application are really going to help you shine because you spent more time
Hmm.
and you've answered those questions.
Hmm. I always like to, when I was working with students too, I'd always emphasize, look for the scholarships from the local associations. Like typically that is where you have your best chance of getting one. I had a student who applied for Coca-Cola. I had multiple students apply for Coca-Cola, and only one of them even made it to the interview. Now, that was impressive that she made it to the interview. That was amazing, but I can't tell you about all the amazing students who applied and got nowhere. Whereas like that little scholarship to like the Lions Club or the local union for whatever it might be, like I actually saw students get, maybe it was $500, maybe it was 1,000 over 4 years. That adds up. That makes a difference.
Yeah, and also you live in that community. These folks want to give you money. They want you to be successful. They're invested, and so they're going to invest in you. It reminds me of a story of so I had one student that I was helping, and he applied to a small scholarship, like you're talking about, small scholarship, Chamber of Commerce of the Portland metro area. Um, it, I want to say it was $500. It was enough for books, but what he got out of it was connections. So he
Mhm.
went to the award dinner and he sat next to somebody who owned a hardware store. And
Mm-hmm.
guess what his summer job was? As that he worked for that hardware store. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, on a weekend a day, and they were flexible because, I mean, here was this donor,
Mm-hmm.
and he received that scholarship and an active member of the community, and he really made it work.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, and I imagine some mentoring might have gone along with that too,
oh
you
yeah,
know? So he got a job and then he also had a mentor as long as he might be interested in business. And it didn't have to be at a hardware store. That's the other thing
yeah,
that I always like to emphasize. So,
yeah.
um, yeah. All right. Any other sorts of ideas or anything?
Well, again, reiterating that, you know, starting small and then moving your way up to those national scholarships, those can have those big money tickets. Is that you're kind of seeing those $10,000 for a STEM scholarship. They are worth it. However, you want to make sure that we're creating a priority and making sure that it's manageable in terms of your goals as a student. If you're applying to a multiple different schools, if you're applying to different programs, is that those national scholarships are great opportunities, but you want to be realistic in the sense that you could be leaving some money on the table if you don't explore those local
Mhm.
scholarships.
Oh, and actually, before I let you go, I did think of one more thing. I mean, I don't think students always realize that, you know, you don't have to major in business to go into business. So there's an argument that maybe if you're a classics major or a biology major and you know you don't want to go into those fields and teach, you might still be able to get a business scholarship, right? I mean, you kind of mentioned something like that. If it's not tied to a major, as you said, maybe it's tied to a particular profession.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Think about it in a broad sense. What are your goals? What are those fields? You know, in the classics, there might, you know, they if there's an organization that supports the classics, they need an accountant. They need, you know, a financial advisor. They might need IT. So there's a lot of different things that you can bring to the table that might surround some of your interests and your goals as well.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you so much, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great one.
You too. All right. We're going to take a short break, but when we get back, we'll be talking to Sarah Calvert Kubrum about organizing your senior with a summer schedule.